Welcome back to Investing with Confidence, the final segment of the show here today. We're talking about stocks, options, futures, Forex, income strategies, wealth strategies for everyday people, especially for our listeners right here on the show. We have investing classes locally at our local academies, at Online Trading Academy in Denver, Colorado, Bloomington, Minnesota, and Atlanta, Georgia. If you did miss tickets to that, you can text the word invest to the number 484848. Get your phones ready. I'll give you that number again. But when you text into this number, you're also going to receive some free stock picks when you get registered for one of these classes. Text the word invest to the number 484848. So, Al, in the last segment, you were talking about wealth strategies. I guess for people that if they don't have enough strategies to use to build wealth, have the opportunity for that.
Mm-hmm.
But also if somebody feels like secure and they feel like they've had enough or they have enough to retire, it's all about keeping it.
Right.
So you were talking about different protection strategies, different ways to, I guess, go into retirement with more confidence. But, one of the things we always talk about, and you remember when you were a kid and
Barely.
barely, well, that was a couple years ago
Yeah,
for you,
few.
not too many. But when you're a kid and you played that game that you threw the ball over the house, right? You say, any eye over, I think that's what it was.
It wasn't quite. I was any.
It was it any eye over?
Yeah,
Something like that. I grew up in a small town, so that's kind of what we said, if I remember right.
Well, we were throwing the ball over the roof.
You threw the ball over the roof, and sometimes you just didn't get it over, and you said pig's tail. I don't know if you remember that, but that's what happens when you're in a small town. You make some weird stuff up. So you would say pig's tail if it didn't go over, and you got a do-over. You tried again. Well, when you think about retirement accounts, 401ks, and IRAs, you do not get a do-over, right? You have to start them the right way, but you'll also have to, I guess, try to monitor them the best you can. Unfortunately, people are monitoring their accounts with no knowledge or skills. They're just guessing based on a gut feeling or some advice from a friend or maybe their manager at work.
Mm-hmm.
So you just don't get a do-over. So you have to do that right. So if someone's looking to, I guess if they have a 401k or IRA started and they're not at the point where they have enough, they need to do something now to, I guess, to build that a little bit more and have the opportunity to retire with confidence.
Right.
So how do you help people get into these accounts and do it the right way?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people look at their 401k as something that is when they start it, when they first start within that 401k or 403b or whatever your employer sponsored plan is called. They just put money into it and then put it on cruise control.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know that they can manage the assets within those portfolios. They don't know how to protect themselves from a major correction or major crash. And a lot of people, to be honest with you, have no idea what's in those accounts. If you ask somebody, if you find 100 people on the street and ask them to tell you what's in their 401ks or their IRAs, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you. So number one is understand. I
don't want to interrupt you, but I did. Here's what they say. Oh, I got a guy or I got a gal that takes care of me. I don't even know. I'm in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
But that's what everybody says.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that guy has guaranteed you that if your portfolio doesn't do well, he'll make up the difference?
That's a different. I don't think so.
I must be mistaken.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah, so a lot of people feel comfortable passing off the responsibility on someone else. So they don't have to take the blame maybe if they don't do well. But how does that really help you? Because once you're in retirement, whatever you have is what you have to deal with. So what we want to talk about is how to get you to that point when you do go into retirement where you feel comfortable. But then when you do it, your plan kind of changes. Your approach to things change. Number one is protection. You can't, like Josh said, you don't get a do-over. So working 30, 40 years, and maybe cutting out some things while you're working so you can put more into retirement, then going into retirement and having a bear market take maybe 40 to 60% of it away, that is pretty devastating. So number one is protecting what you have. And number two is learning how to generate income off of whatever you have in your portfolio. I think it's more important to be able to, I guess the key is not necessarily how much you have in that retirement account, but how much income you can generate off of it, because that's what you should be using to maybe to pay your bills and have some fun, and then grow that portfolio. Maybe you want to leave some money to your kids or grandkids, or you have some charitable organization you want to leave a legacy. So grow the account, while you're learning to generate income off of it while you're protecting it. In the protection strategies, we talk about that. How do you do that within a 401k? Better yet, maybe you set up a self-directed IRA where you can have the equivalent, the financial equivalent of an insurance policy on that portfolio. Plus, you can use in a self-directed IRA futures, Forex, options. You can benefit potentially if the market goes down. You can benefit potentially if the market goes up and sideways. So you can participate in all three directions, which obviously increases your odds of success.
That's what it's about, Al, is increasing those odds of success. And I just want to, make sure our listeners understand this, because I think it's important to know that if you have an IRA, you're not required to have a broker or an advisor or somebody to manage and pay them to just hold it for you. You're not required to have that. It's just not true. So you have the opportunity to direct those if you want to, but you want to do it the right way. So that's why when you teach these investing classes is how to figure out what you have in these accounts, first of all, and then having the right decisions made within those. And you have to do that with a little bit of knowledge, but then a little bit of skill. And you have these investing classes that you teach here in Bloomington, Minnesota, Denver, Colorado, and Atlanta, Georgia, to help people make smarter investing decisions and do that with confidence in their 401ks or IRAs. If you want to come to one of these classes, you also get some stock picks when you come to these classes. But just text the word invest to the number 484848. You get a text back with the link to pick a date for your own for the class that works for you. We're also going to make sure we get you a call to set up the date and also go over the details in the class as well. So text the word invest to the number 484848 for classes locally here in Bloomington, Denver, and Atlanta. So you were talking about in your portfolios. I mean, you mentioned every single week, people are looking to leave legacies for their family, donate to different churches and stuff like that. So you have to have enough. So you were talking about income strategies off of what you already have. So talk about that real quick in about 2 minutes. How does somebody take their portfolio and have the opportunity to create an income strategy off of that?
Yeah, well, and now it's more important than ever not to just rely on the old standby, which was dividend income, maybe treasuries, because they're not paying enough to give you income that you might need. In fact, for most of you, the fees that you're paying to a broker to manage whatever you have exceed whatever the returns could be with the yields that we're seeing now and the interest rates that are being achieved. In fact, if you have, let's say you've amassed $1 million retirement portfolio, you're probably paying somewhere between $20,000 to $50,000 a year in fees. That's a lot of money that could go to something that maybe somebody would get some benefit out of.
That's a car, that's a college fund for their kids or something. That's a lot of money that they're just throwing away by something to just hold it. That's it.
Yeah, because you're still, for the most part, most of you are still making your own choices within those accounts. So one of the things that we teach our students is that there are assets that you can use with a small amount of what's in your retirement portfolio to use with leverage. And one of the mistakes people make is not understanding leverage and either using it, which is bad, or not understanding leverage and not using it, because the leverage, we talked about the 20 to 1 to 50 to 1 or 100 to 1 leverage. That's a multiple of your investment dollars. So you can take a small amount of that in your retirement portfolio and then use it to participate in something that has a much higher reward, a much higher value than what you actually have in that small account.
You're right. And it all comes down to, I guess, getting some knowledge. And it's not out of a book. It's not out of the University of YouTube, because where is that information coming from? It's actually doing it at a physical place. An Online Trading Academy, the sponsor of the show, has physical places to learn about the markets. Locally here in Denver and Bloomington and Atlanta. And we have investing classes that are about 2 hours to get started in these markets. Some things that you're going to learn. You're going to learn how the market actually works, how it functions, how buyers and sellers actually move the market. Who is doing that? We know it's the institutions. We talk about that every single week. The institutions are moving these markets. So the key is to identify where they're buying and selling and kind of jump on their coattails, ride along with them. If you want to learn more about that, to get in these markets with confidence, to get started with your 401ks, IRAs, and have the opportunity to live the life that you choose, you have to come to one of these classes. They're free. They're about 2 hours to learn about how they work. Text the word invest to the number 484848 for 2 tickets locally here in Bloomington, Denver, and Atlanta. Text the word INVEST to the number 484848. You're going to receive a text back with a link to pick a date on your that works for your schedule. We have these during the week, the weekends, and the evenings, so anybody with any schedule can attend these classes. Al, every week we have some great wisdom every single week. We talk about how the markets work. You also have some different tips. So let's hear today's OTA tip of the week.
All right. Well, we talk about goals and how important that is. And basically the difference between people that achieve their goals and those that don't is those that achieve their goals simply took action. So if you want to or you need to make a change in your financial life, that means taking a chance, and sometimes to realize that change, you have to do something you haven't done before. It doesn't mean you have to do it alone. Look, the future is a blank slate. At OTA, our goal is to help our students go into that future with strategies in place that increase the odds of achieving the change that they want.
You're right. I always at some basketball games, some high school basketball games, and you just can't get out of your head. And it's just the same thing in life, sports, and investing. You have to take action, like you said. So they were saying ACTION, action, guys, action. Same thing. You have to take action in your life. And how do you see yourself in the future? That's what it's all about. Call 888-682-6466 for 2 tickets for the investing class locally here in Denver, Atlanta, and Bloomington. 888-682-6466. As always, same time, same place next week. Until then, retire young, my friends.